This is Star Radio UK.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
The best radio show.
In your car,
at work,
at home,
on your smartphone.
This is Star Radio UK. This is Star Radio UK.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Star Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome once again to the Bebe Means Business Show. Really good to see you, and thank you so much for tuning in again today. Hope you enjoyed last week's show. Today we're going to have something slightly different, but just to give you a bit of introduction, if you're joining us for the very first time, although if you are, I don't know why you would be joining for the first time, because you should have been here. This is the show where we talk about everything and everything to do with money and finance and wealth creation and leaving a legacy, and we are crazy about business and entrepreneurship on this show. I'm your host. I'm here every week, Bebe Clement, and I run a group of companies alongside my husband. I'm also the author of, thankfully, 2 books now, How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur, and this is my latest book, Wealth Creation, God's Way, which you'll be hearing a lot more about in the book corner later in the show. Those of you who are regular listeners, you know that we have a book corner, because I'm really hot on us increasing our financial literacy and getting to know a lot more than we do about how money works, what we're supposed to do with it, how to grow it, how to protect it, and how to leave it as a legacy for generations to come. Now, last year, somebody sent me something. It was a video that really got my interest, because people are always sending me stuff that they think would be of value to me. But this video really got my interest. I want to show it to you. Here we go, guys.
Hi, I'm Ife.
Hi, I'm Emeka and her big brother.
And together we run Chukwu's, the world's first Nigerian tapas restaurant.
And we need your help.
We opened our restaurant 3 years ago.
Just 5 weeks before the pandemic.
Since then, we've been named one of the best restaurants in London. We've had rave reviews from you about our dishes like our plantain waffles. And we've welcomed thousands of guests from London to Leicester and Lagos to New York.
But we must admit, we're struggling to keep our doors open.
We're proud to have shared our Nigerian culture with so many of you, and we want to keep the celebration of our culture going right here on Tottenham's High Road.
That's why we're launching the Chukwu's 6-week charge.
From 31st of October to 11th of December, we're asking you to do one thing.
Book a table.
Our goal is 600 bookings over the next 6 weeks.
That's 100 bookings per week.
So we can continue to give you great food and great vibes all the way into 2023.
So book a table and join the Chukwu's 6-week charge.
So as you know, I sometimes do a series where we celebrate young entrepreneurs. And I do that because, if I had known 30 years ago what I know now, I probably wouldn't be where I am now. I'd have gone a lot further. And so I'm always in awe of young entrepreneurs who get to grips with their purpose early in life, and they start pursuing it and they do it. So I always want to celebrate them and see what I can do to be a part of their success story in any way. So it gives me great joy and great pride to welcome to the show Ifeyinwa and Emeka. Yay! Hi guys.
Hi, how are you?
We're very well. We're very well done. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Good.
Okay, cool.
The restaurant is warm, so we're
it is.
We're not dealing with the cold. That's great.
It's
Okay.
It's Lagos temperature in here.
Okay. All right, guys. So I want to go back to the beginning. First of all, I got a few questions for you. So tell us your background, family, stuff like that. Did you guys grow up here, or did you grow up in Nigeria?
We grew up.
Yeah. No, it's just really funny because one of our interview questions is actually this: we really like to get to know whoever's bringing into our team, beyond obviously like CV. So I kind of felt like on the other foot, but yeah. So just for context, my name is Emeka, and this is my younger sister Ifeyinwa. And we both grew up in the border of East London, Essex, in a little town called Ilford, and that was where we kind of learned about our Nigerian heritage, growing up in the household of our mom, and also going back and forth to our grandmother's home, and we're just regaled with stories of Nigeria, and some of those quite really positive and beautiful stories that they share.
Okay, cool. So this is you've learned all that you know about Nigeria from your mother and your grandmother?
No, I think that was I guess like our introduction. But everything that we now know today, I think there's also been like what we call self-study. So even with the restaurant, Emeka and I are very clear with guests that come and also team members that we are nothing close to experts of Nigerian culture, but what we consider ourselves are like students. And we kind of just delve into our own interests. Like for example, Emeka has a big interest in like sustainability and agribusiness, and so he was sending articles about, oh, did you know this, like how much cassava Nigeria produces, or about rice farming. And I'm like really big on like the theatre and the arts, so sometimes when I'm kind of like delving and exploring more about Nigerian culture, it might be from more of that sort of angle. But it was very much, I think, there was always that challenge when you grow up as part of the diaspora, like of what amount of your culture or what level of pride in your culture gets passed on to you. And I think basically from the way our parents and our nene, our maternal grandmother, kind of like spoke to us about Nigeria, there was always a sense of pride and also curiosity about this place that we were from and that we fortunately had the opportunity to go to, but in the sense of like, wanting to know more and wanting and being able to see its beauty from the stories that we were told. Okay.
Do you guys go there often?
Yeah, we do. Especially as when we were younger, we didn't go as frequently. It's sometimes, as you can imagine, quite costly to travel as a large family. But as or as independent young adults, we've had the opportunity to travel a lot more. We both have friends based in Nigeria, and so yeah, it's great to go and visit friends, go explore more things around our own personal interests, but also things related to the business as well, and just kind of connect with some of the stories that our grandmother, our great aunties kind of share with us, our mum shares with us, and actually just then going and having getting our own perspective on things, and also our own perspective on maybe the situation and the scenarios in current times versus maybe how they have seen it from several decades hence.
Yeah. Do you find that there's a disparity between the way that Nigeria is portrayed in the Western media and what it's really like when you go there?
That's a great question, because it was one of the things we wrestled with, and one of the reasons we kind of started the restaurant. I think one of the things I found out is there's actually not too much of a portrayal, and actually that's almost as challenging, because it allows or it leaves people to fill in the gaps without kind of having the actual any substantiated knowledge. And so, for example, when people talk about Nigerian food, actually just the sheer lack of knowledge means that they then jump to certain conclusions which aren't necessarily the case. But then at the same time, I think what gets shared about Nigeria, I don't think the portrayal is actually often inaccurate, but it's often only shown one side. And as I said, that then lack of knowledge of people of the rounded situation, and I say situation to also discuss, rounded culture, rounded stories of Nigeria, and it means that people then fill in the gaps and say, oh well, this is the only thing I've ever heard about it, so this is the only thing that it could be. Right. So much more. And I must admit, this is also for the diaspora as well, right? Because you can also have your own what's the word? I suppose where knowledge base, or where you're getting that knowledge of Nigeria could be maybe just from one individual. A parent who knows that country from 30, 40 years ago. And actually, so as I said, with Ife and I, it's very much an active study, really trying to understand various things. And also, I forgot this key part of your own culture from Nigeria. So obviously, it's someone who is Yoruba, but then who's their family grew up in a main city, is also maybe have a kind of a different knowledge of or different take on Nigerian cuisine from a Yoruba person who's based in a coastal town. That's true. If you go from a different ethnic group. So one of the things we try to do with the restaurant and one of our purposes is actually debunking myths, unpacking Nigeria heritage, cultures, plural, for those who are of different backgrounds, i.e. from non-Nigerian backgrounds, but also for those of a Nigerian background, to kind of enriching our own understanding, education. And as if I said, we are not experts, we learn and then share back and learn more and continue to share in that way.
Perfect. Okay, just to let my viewers know that Ife and Emeka are actually in their restaurant, so you can see some guys coming in and out. So
sorry about that. We just had a sleep rooftop.
Okay. Money doesn't sleep, guys. So Okay. All right. Can you tell me a little bit about your academic background?
Yeah, I love school. I'm not gonna lie. I love studying. I love learning. So what we do now really suits me. Funny enough, at 16 to 18, I was convinced I was going to go to dance college, and that was my focus. I was like, absolutely going to dance college. And then I had a conversation with my mum, who she didn't. In my mum's defense, she never talked me out of going. Okay. She said I had the sort of academics that would allow me to go to the best of the best university. So she was just saying, why not go do uni first, and then you can still do dance college. And she actually gave me a really important nugget of information that I do sit with still. Because she never actually told me I couldn't go. I think that was really important. She never told me I couldn't go, and she never poo-pooed the idea. She just questioned the order in which I was going to do things. Okay. Something that she did say to me is that sometimes you love something and you're really passionate about it, but when you make it your career, it changes that. To this day, I'm actually really glad I never went down being a fresh dancer route, because I think she would have been right. I loved it, but I don't think I would have enjoyed it in the way I still do now if I'd made it my career path. So what did you study? I went to university and I studied classics. So I studied the civilizations of ancient Rome and ancient Greek. So I did ancient history, ancient philosophy, Latin, and ancient Greek, and I absolutely loved it. I loved Latin all through school, and ancient philosophy is something that I fell in love with at university, and it's stuck with me since. For those who may not know much about ancient philosophy, a big component of it is Stoic philosophy, which often says, try not to hold judgment about things and just kind of be patient and see how things pan out. And a lot of kind of today's modern day self-help books and also modern day psychotherapy is underpinned by like Stoic philosophy.
Okay.
So it's really great. And then after university, I'd wanted to do French for my degree, but I was a bit too nervous about that. So I promised myself that I would go and move to a French-speaking country. And so after university...
Where did you go to university?
I went to university. I went to university at Cambridge. I went to Cambridge University, much to my mum's delight. She told the postman.
Our family.
Mum was really telling everyone. I remember the day Mum told the postman. So after my degree at Cambridge, I took a year out and I moved to Martinique, which is a French-speaking island in the Caribbean. And I was there teaching English and perfecting my French. And then after that, I moved to France and then came back to London, and here I am doing Chiku's.
Emeka, what did you do?
I actually left Ilford at 13, and I went to boarding school down in a city called Winchester, down on the kind of like south coast. So I was there for my formative years. It was like fantastic experience. Just actually a real growth opportunity, as I was very much out of my comfort zone, and it was at the same time it was very much an adventure. And following that, I then went to study economics at university. I love maths, really enjoyed economics. And I initially paired it with Spanish, but my Spanish, as much as I love it, wasn't as good as my maths and my economics. So I put that to one side and focused on that, and that was just getting my degree in those studies. But I promised myself that if I had secured myself a job by the time I got into my final year, that I would then line up a year abroad in Spain. To go and actually just learn and enjoy speaking Spanish. So that's what I did. Finished my studies, had a job lined up to go and be a management consultant, and so took the year abroad, went to Spain, enjoyed myself, got my Spanish up to a really good level, and then came back to be able to start working in the City of London, where I was a strategy consultant. As Ife mentioned, I ended up focusing on sustainability strategy. I did that for a number of years before leaving that to come and start Chiku's with Ife.
Okay. Wow. Well done, guys. Well done. How do you think how do I put this? Do you draw, and if you do, to what extent do you draw on your academic background for what you guys do now? Do you think it has been useful? Because the reason why I asked that question is because I sometimes come across young people who start out in a particular field academically, but that's really not their passion. But they feel because that's what they know or that's what they've studied, they kind of get stuck in that. And they think it would just be too much hassle to go start over. But how much do you think you guys have drawn from your academic background or your experiences in the success of your company?
So it's funny because I actually wrote something about this recently for my alumni magazine, and I won't speak for Emeka, but for me, I think a lot. I think it's a bit like, when someone is moving field in a job and you're talking about transferable skills. So, I mean, let's be clear, my Latin is not helping at all in running the restaurant of Chiku's. I'm not using that. But I think, for example, that especially my ancient philosophy, a lot of that kind of like critical thinking and thinking through a problem is something that I think very much still applies. And for me, so at Cambridge, you do an essay a week. Very intense, and you don't really get much guidance. You kind of throw in this long reading list, which you're not supposed to read it all, and it's a lot of like finding things out for yourself. And I think after doing like an essay a week for 3 years, never really knowing where I'm beginning, what I think I got quite comfortable at is beginning when you don't know what you're doing, and that's essentially what I think running the business is. Like, on like 3 years in. I know slightly more than I did before, but there's a whole heap of other things now that I don't know how to do that we want to do, and we've got to go and figure out. And I think for me, my academic experience, I guess, has left me the confidence to say, okay, I don't necessarily know what I'm doing right now, but I can trust that I can probably figure it out. And and also, it sounds like quite a small, it maybe sounds like a small thing, but I've noticed that one of my really good skills is actually being able to find information, and I think that comes from having to like scan like journals or books really like so often, and just like trying to find the key information that you're looking for to be able to deliver on that essay. So sometimes when we're looking for something in the restaurant, or there's something we want to go and do, I'm not quite sure, I find that I'm quite good at being able to like, okay, I've been able to find the article that will give us some information to go on to the next step. And then I think the other thing is, I think that both the travelling and also where I went to university means that I'm very comfortable in a number of spaces. I'm very comfortable, and I think particularly with hospitality, you need to be very comfortable talking to all different types of people and recognise that everyone comes from different backgrounds that might not match with your own life experiences. And I sometimes meet people that don't necessarily have that capacity, and you can see how that has an impact. So I think those are ways in which it's helped me, but they're not necessarily like tangible. It's probably not as tangible as like, oh, because I learned this, I now do this in the restaurant.
Okay. Well, how did you guys get into the restaurant business in particular? First of all, why did you get into business? Why did you not go down the employment route long term? I know you guys have done some jobs, but why did you not stick with the employment route? And why did you go into the restaurant business in particular?
Yeah, I mean, so I was about to answer the question before, but basically I think it's a very, very quick answer, to be honest. This had a greater purpose and a greater pull. It was as simple as that. I think for me, I was very much enjoying where I was before. I very much enjoyed the work. I enjoyed my clients. I enjoyed the rigor of what I did. But when one looks at their life and has limited time, it's like, well, which project is going to be feeling more rewarding, more purposeful? If I look back in 30 years' time and say, well, I did that, and I thought at that time that Chukwu's, and I still do, was the project that would be the one I would like to make the centre, rather than continuing down the consulting route. And I think I speak for Ife in a sense that we had a conversation. So as I mentioned, I'm a couple of years older than her, and so she was away in I think France at the time, and considering coming back to London to start on a grad scheme. And I said, she wasn't too sure, and I said, well, look, just continue traveling and continue exploring until there's something which is of a great enough purpose to make you feel magnetically attracted back to the UK. And if not, then just continue exploring yourself so you can find that purpose. And I suppose then when we kind of floated the idea of Chukwu's, there was enough of a draw to bring her back, and there was enough of a draw to take me out from where I was doing, and then we end up doing this.
Okay. So why did you pick the restaurant business?
So
Okay.
So Emeka and I kind of talk about this, and I know some people kind of approach business from like, they're going to start a business or they're going to start this, and that was never really mine and Emeka's way. And both of us say it's long and it's very hard, and we wouldn't be doing this if we weren't doing Chukwu's. So for us, it wasn't, we chose to start a business or we chose to start our restaurant businesses. We chose to start Chukwu's, and it was, we specifically had this idea about creating a Nigerian restaurant that was going to celebrate our culture, celebrate our heritage, invite others to share in that culture, but also for it to be a place that the diaspora could be proud of. And we wanted to kind of go beyond food and bring people together and celebrate the entirety of, I guess, where we're from. And that was the idea, and so that's what we did. But I don't think
the restaurant was just the vehicle for it.
Sorry, say that again?
The restaurant was just the vehicle for it?
Yeah, and so I don't think if someone had positioned to us, do you want to start a pizza business?
Right.
We'd just been like, nah, Emeka would have stayed and work and I would have continued travelling. It was very much specifics of what we're creating. That is what we want to do. And I think importantly it needed to be that because, I mean, let's not lie, we started the brand 7 years ago, 7 years today.
Oh, yeah.
7 years today.
Tell us.
7 years.
And so we're not really knowing the day.
Not really jumping for joy as the tiredness of the last 7 years kicks in.
But it's been really tough, and I'll put my hands up and say, if it wasn't for what I believed we were doing and creating, I probably would have just tapped out and just gone into the city and got my 28 days holiday and my nice salary. But it's very much about the specifics of what we believed. And what we believe, rather, it's not that we are creating and what we wanted to celebrate. And as Emeka mentioned, I think the purpose, that is very much the driver beyond saying like, oh, we're starting a business or having a restaurant. Is what we're doing with Chuku specifically. That is what has kept, well, I think has kept us both here.
Yeah. What us here and what's kept us here. Absolutely.
Good. Okay, we're going to take a break in a minute, but just before we do, I just wanted to ask, because I'm not very sophisticated. What exactly is a tapas bar or a tapas restaurant?
Yeah. So I think we'll start off talking about tapas first of all. So tapas is a way of dining. Typically, you have sharing plates. So instead of having your own individual plate, you would have a plate which you would share with a person that you want to eat out with, by the nature, and then as a result, you then have multiple plates rather than just one individual dish, like one individual main each. But then what then happens is, just so the word tapas is a Spanish word, and these kind of tapas restaurants, tapas bars are popular in Spain, very popular in Spain. However, that way of dining, of a sharing kind of plates, isn't solely unique to Spain. Other cultures have it, and I would even go as far as to say that some of the way that we kind of often dine at Nigerian functions is of a kind of similar ilk. We use the word tapas simply because it encapsulated everything that I'm about to say, which starts off with the sharing plates. But then what then happens is, by the very nature of sharing your food with someone, you break down certain barriers which you might have had if you had your own individual plate, where you have this whole element of this is mine and this is yours, and we don't cross those lines. And you probably know this just from the case of when you've gone out to eat, maybe with a partner or whatever, and you said, try this, and then you both have an understanding of what each other's eating, and it enriches an opportunity for conversation and relationships to build. And by doing that then lends to a boisterous atmosphere, because everybody is now not quietly talking, everyone is comfortable and leaning in and involved in a conversation, and so it becomes quite an inclusive and warm place. That is what happens by eating in a tapas way. That was actually what happened. Was we described the place that we wanted to create, which was, we wanted people to feel this kind of warmth. We wanted them to have this kind of rich conversation, which lends to fostering even better relationships. People, come in and be feeling that they can actually tell their friend their whole story. We wanted people to be inclusive. We wanted people to be able to look at someone next to them who is not the person they came to dine with, but then to ask them a question: what are you eating? And we wanted to have all that. And when we described all of that, it then lent itself to what actually, I think there's this way of dining that we've seen in another country, which then also marries very much so with how hospitality is in Nigeria. Hospitality is actually, you go to someone's house and they're trying to shove food down you. You must eat. And the way we have a boisterous atmosphere, and the way there'll be an array of dishes. So we thought, okay, well, we want to do all this, and instead of spending 5 minutes each time explaining what we're trying to do, let's just try and find this one word. And that was the way we went with the word tapas. But that's what it is.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break right now. You can call in with any questions. If you're a young person and you're thinking of going into business, or you've already started a business and you need some advice, feel free to call in. As you know, our number is 07539 66175. For that number again, that's 07539 661 Or if you're joining us on Facebook, then just put your questions in the chat. Our Twitter handle is @StarRadioUK, or you can text or WhatsApp us on the number that I've just given you. We'll be back in a minute with the Chukus, so don't go away. See you soon.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur, and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business, but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Star Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Bebe Means Business Show, and today we are celebrating young entrepreneurs, and I have the pleasure of having Ife and Emeka Chukwu on the show, and they are the business owners of Chukwu's restaurant, tapas restaurant. And just before the break, Emeka was explaining to us what a tapas restaurant is, and my knowledge has definitely increased. So yeah, that's where we're at this afternoon. During the break, you will have seen the flyer for the women's breakfast that I'm hosting in March. Please sign up to that if you're a woman in business and you need to do some networking, and of course you do need to do some networking. So sign up for that. The details are there on the screen, and they'll be running across the screen later on in the show. So we're back with Emeka and Ife. So is your food from all over Nigeria, or have you picked a particular part of Nigeria and you're promoting that their food?
Great question. So just going back to, obviously those who have just joined in maybe haven't heard the full interview, but we were talking about how we want to go about sharing Nigerian cuisine and culture for those who are not of a Nigerian background, but also for those who are of a Nigerian background, and share the try to share the diversity that really is so rich in Nigeria. And so we haven't picked one place in particular. We've tried to initially show that the diversity. I say initially because there's only so much one can do with we have about 14 sharing plates. So there's a lot more that we would like to